Okay, so apparently I'm in this dev vlog thing. One of you guys in chat just said it. I had it bookmarked because I was like, oh yeah, I'd love to talk about 007. I didn't realize I make an appearance in it, but you know what? I'm here for it. So this is from IGN. It's the official Gameplay Dev Reacts and Insights Beyond the Light episode 1, where they talk about the game, give some breakdowns of it. Let's see, and we'll see if you can spot my appearance in this somewhere. Let's see, because I'm interested in 007. I think it looks really good. If it can run well, I think we got a treat on our hands.
Hey everybody, welcome to the first episode of Beyond the Lights, a series where developers are reacting to your comments, providing deep insights, and taking you behind the scenes of how we're crafting 007 First Light.
I think I met him in Copenhagen. He looks very familiar.
This first episode is going to be focused on gameplay. Let's get straight into it.
Straight into it.
Hello guys, I'm Andreas. I've been at
Andreas,
IOI
yep.
for around 10 years, and currently I'm the gameplay director of 007 First Light.
Now, let's see what all the fuss is about.
There was one moment where somebody asked, how are you guys handling like AI and player agency and stuff? And he specifically was like, we made the Hitman games. We know how to handle player agency and complex behaviors. Like, it was one of those, like, we got that part down. I do think the game looks very genuinely cool. I like the idea of melding Uncharted with Hitman. It's perfect. Like, going back even 5 to 10 years, there's clips of people saying, dream 007 game, make it IOI. Like, you guys are the perfect ones for it. Yeah, man, I think that it's a match made in heaven. Again, my only concern that I have at this point is the freaking performance. Like, that's the only potential hiccup I could see, because the later sections ran pretty rough. But again, I don't want to just bash that all day.
Let's go.
Chess. Was that my appearance that they're playing chess?
Bye.
Oh, it's Joyce and Dennis. Both of them are fantastic. They actually work with our buddy Jor, and yeah, they are an absolute hoot. They're both amazingly talented, very funny. I think I met Dennis at the Dragon Age event, and Joyce we've run into a few times, but she also was on the stream and podcast after something. I don't remember what game it was for, but we also I met Joyce at the event for 007 as well.
Oh, you can lock the door? Oh, that's amazing.
I appreciate that they broke it up, where the underlings may not know everybody involved. They're an underling. Like, they wouldn't know everybody that's working that location. But the people in charge would. So you can't bluff them in the same way. Now I got to be careful when I talk about stuff. They're listening, bro. They're listening. This is why I've told you guys, what you say in like the comment sections and chat matters. It matters, because like, they listen and they're paying attention. They will directly react to things you say. There was one point when I was at a certain studio. In you'll be able to connect the dots, I'm sure. I was at a certain studio in Canada, and I was talking to a very like pretty senior person, like pretty high up within the studio hierarchy. I had done a video where I was not that kind. I was, dare I say, mean about a couple of things, and he actually referenced it. It was like, yeah, I saw your video on so and so and such and such. Harsh but fair. I was like, ooh, yeah, well, I'm glad they're listening, they're watching, so they're aware. So just always be aware that your comments, you never know who's reading them. You never know. That's why we also need to be on nice behavior, because there's constructive criticism, there's being cheeky and funny, lighting Todd Howard candles, and then there's being toxic. We don't want to be toxic. These are real people making games, but still, it is bizarre to me to see that people way more talented than I'll ever be are watching these videos. You know, it's very funny.
New from like Hitman and Stealth, like you have many different ways to achieve your objective, but I also love how many options you have in combat.
Yeah, exactly like that actually. Like, we had a similar concept in Hitman with the enforcers. It's not the exact same thing, but it's related. So we have these NPCs that can see through you because they know the people working there. That's the idea about it. And it helps a lot when you try to create puzzles and setups to challenge the player in various ways.
Keep a low profile and don't let your guards down. 009 most certainly won't.
Creative approach, that's one of those fun things where really the base definition is about the player feeling creative when overcoming any given challenge in the game. And it's really easy to say that, but it's really hard to kind of translate that into what is the moment-to-moment gameplay that make you feel creative this way.
Yeah, I agree. One of the coolest moments in like any game, this is why I personally love going out on a limb here. This is going to be hot take. I like Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. I think they're good. But one of the reasons I love those games so much, especially, is because they are some of the best when it comes to, I wonder if this will work. And then you try it and it works. And maybe the devs had no idea you would or you could do that, but you try it and it works because it's about systems. It's about how those systems interplay with each other. Like I remember there was one point when I was playing Breath of the Wild, like right around when it came out, and I hadn't seen any videos of people trying it, but I thought like, oh, I wonder if I set a fire to this grass and it creates the hot air, if I can then use that to like float up over this like ridge that I needed to get up to. And I tried it and it worked. And I felt like a super genius. Turns out lots of other people figured that out too. But because in the moment I had like thought, I wonder if this works. And then it worked. And they rewarded my creativity with that system working. It's a magical feeling. And even now going on 8 years later, I still think about that. And I still remember that moment because it was so cool. And that's why I also love like IOI stuff with Hitman, is because they also have the same kind of thing. If you've not played any of the like modern Hitman games, the levels of like interlocking complexity and systems, it's kind of insane. Look up, like, if you really want to have your mind blown, look up Hitman speed runs. Dude, some of the stuff they do is insane. Like, it's actually insane how clever some of these players are. But again, that's also a perfect fit, I think, for 007, because it's about creative solutions, you know, whether it's an assassination target or you're just trying to steal something or you're trying to get information on something. I think that is perfect. Baldur's Gate 3 did similar things too. Exactly. Because when you build the systems, it kind of reminds me of that saying, you know, plot is, was it Vince Gilligan? I forget. I think it might have been Vince Gilligan. Forgive me, I don't remember exactly who said it. Maybe it was Stephen King. I don't know. It was a talented writer, but they said plot is bullshit. And their idea was basically that if you are creating a story, all you need to do is create characters that sort of act as agents within this world, and you put them in a situation, and then you think from their perspective, and they will just do stuff. And that creates the plot organically. It's the same thing with like playing D&D, where you'll just sit down with players and they'll create the story because they are all capable agents doing their own thing. And in Baldur's Gate, it's the same thing, where they just create systems, they create agents, and those interact with each other and make things possible. And it's brilliant. But anyway, I could keep glazing Baldur's Gate and Zelda all day long, but then you'd cancel me. I mean, because that's a hot take, right? Cancel me, I don't care.
But from this game, we broke it down into the thing that you need to know that there are different options in the game. If we start violating that trust as developers, the player will forget those options or not use them because they don't rely on them, and then it becomes much more narrow option space, so you disregard that, or you get less creative at least.
I agree. You have to challenge players, and the moment you start to guide them or overguide them or hold their hand too much, players will forget certain systems. And this is the same phenomenon that I think happens with games that are too easy, is that you'll stop using gameplay systems if you don't need to. It's why this is actually a hot take, I think. It's why I've said, if you're going to play The Witcher 3, play it on Death March. Cancel me. I don't care. Cancel me. It's just my opinion. Cancel me. Because when you play on Death March, it forces you to use oils. It forces you to do the crafting. It forces you to go and upgrade all of your potions. Because if you don't, like, you're going to have a bad time. And some people are like, oh, no, you just want everybody to be sweaty. But I'm like, no, seriously, because on normal difficulty, you don't really have to upgrade potions. You don't really have to go and work with decoctions or oils or anything. You don't have to. But if you play on the hardest difficulty, it raises the bar, the minimum, so that you have to engage with those systems. And so that's why difficulty balancing is a pet peeve of mine within a lot of open world games. Because if games that have a lot of systems are too easy, it just leads to the point where you don't bother with a ton of systems. And in my view, I'm like, why are they there if you can ignore them? you know. I disagree, too much time in the menu. That 53 nights is a legitimate reason to be frustrated, especially with RPGs that have a lot of systems, is that it can turn into menu busy work. That's one of my pet peeves with like Bethesda games a lot of the time, is that they become inventory management games that feature open world exploration and stuff. That's why, honestly, if you're going to play them, go into console commands and lift the carry capacity. Because like if you're playing Fallout, you're playing Fallout to navigate the wastes and engage in RPG stuff. Why are you spending so much time juggling the weight of bobby pins? You know, like, what are we doing? Anyway.
In that sense. The last thing.
Luke video without mentioning BGS, difficulty impossible.
And I think this is a key ingredient that we also had in our prior stealth game.
Last thing. Same for playing KCD on hardcore. I feel that the base game of KCD 2 already challenges you to use almost every system. I think the one system you can regularly like ignore is alchemy, because the economy breaks down in the end game. I don't know how that is playing from scratch with the DLC now. That might have been adjusted, but yeah, the base game I think is pretty well balanced to force you to engage with most all of the systems, except for maybe one. You could also maybe say cooking if you count that as a system. But yeah, I think most with Witcher 3, I think every player should start on Death March. For KCD 2, I would not start on Death March personally. I think that would be too much of a system shock, because I think the base game already is challenging enough. Personally, just my opinion. Cancel me. I don't care. Continuing. Sorry.
In that sense. The last thing, and I think this is a key ingredient that we also had in our prior stealth games in Hitman, was, and I coined this as uncertainty in execution. It's really the thing that you know your own options, you see the options in the environment, and you get to that point where you think, okay, I'm gonna try this thing. So it might be throwing the smoke device and try to sneak by. When you get to the other point and get past them, you think to yourself, oh, I did it. It actually worked. The thing I wanted to do, it worked.
That needs a look.
That needs a look.
We made games in the past where combat wasn't really the main approach. So now we have a game where we want stealth and combat to be on equal footing. Some of the ways that I think we push it forward is, and this is very gameplay focused, it's in the stealth gameplay actually, where we now have ways to de-escalate situations a lot easier than we've had before. And that happened because we've married some of those bond traits into our stealth mechanics. So for instance, the bluff.
Oi, I need to find Saunders. There's a chance the suspect is dressed as security. The bastard could be hiding right under your noses.
Can you imagine, good sir? Can you imagine? I do think the bluff system actually is going to be very interesting. And it's one that I would want to test the most, because in the gameplay sequence we saw, he comes down to these guards. But like they said, the guy that was just there, this guy, he's in charge of them. And so he will know you're not part of the security detail. So if he's present when you try to click this bluff button, he calls your bluff and is like, no, what are you talking about? And so what he did is he used the chemical thing that you collect while you're going through the maps and exploring, and he poisoned him, made him sick. He goes off. So now you can bluff these guys who don't have the sufficient credentials to be fooled. And that's really, really cool. That's really cool. My question is if that's maintained across every encounter. So you find one guy standing outside of or next to a stairwell and you try to bluff him. What does 007 say to him? You know, what's the bluff that he gives? Is it the same line, but just, you know, repeated? Is it a different lie? Is it a different bluff based on who they are, where they're standing? Is there a clear visual way of determining, you know, who's in charge and who isn't able to be bluffed or who it will fail against? I'm interested in pushing this and seeing how far it goes. But anyway, continuing.
There's a chance the suspect is dressed as security. The bastard could be hiding right under your noses.
Damn. I'll keep an eye out for new faces.
Those are ways to kind of contain a situation, even though you were spotted in a place where you weren't supposed to be. You can talk your way out of it, or you can de-escalate the situation and maintain kind of your stealth status. So that loop in a stealth gameplay setting is something that twists us a little bit away from the normal stealth loops. It feels very good to have that second win or a way out, at least.
Antique books on display about the castle and local history.
Wonder if you could help me.
I'll certainly try, sir.
Are we ready?
Level designer.
Hello, my name is Thomas. I'm a senior level designer on 007 First Light, and I've been at IOI for about 4 years. So in order to highlight the environment, I think we rely a lot on making sure that the player is actually able to see every opportunity at first glance.
I should ask them if you can turn off hints. Because see that, like
A
as he
lot
looks
on making
up,
sure that the player is actually
it pops up with hint, open window. This is also a pet peeve. This is not a hot take. I feel like games nowadays overdo it with hints. Okay, they overdo it. The one that went viral for it was God of War Ragnarok, where like you arrive at this spot, there's a puzzle, and immediately you walk in within like 5 seconds, Atreus says, "What's that up there?" and solves the puzzle for you. They eventually patched it out and fixed it because apparently it wasn't supposed to be that fast, but it kind of fulfilled the meme that games hold your hand too much nowadays. And my rule of thumb has always been make it an option, but specifically opt in. So I would start the game without any hints, and then if players are having trouble, and you can like have a system in the game where if you're walking around this little courtyard for like 3 minutes doing nothing, it pops up, would you like to enable hints? Ask the player there to enable it, because otherwise like the constant pop-ups just like they drive me a little crazy. But maybe that's just me, but like I saw the window, like I don't need a hint for that, you know. So I should ask them if the hints can be disabled.
actually able to see every opportunity at first glance. One of the most important part for us is to be able to give information without the player actually thinking about it. So he just enters the space, look at what he has, and sees the options. And it can be just a railing, it can be two people talking, it could be some kind of eavesdrop opportunity. But the goal is that we present everything in an impeccable way so that the player can actually glance the options and choose whatever he wants.
And I like that. I just would rather see it in the environment than through a UI pop-up.
When we talk about IOI, we say this is a postcard creator, because every time you want to dream about a location, you buy the postcard. And you're like, oh, what is the postcard of Italy? And you will say, oh, it's Pise, the tower, right? It's not just showing you this place, it's showing you what you want to be and where you want to be in that space. I think what's interesting with having a young Bond is that it's almost a new canvas for us and also for players. And usually when you jump into the boots of a new iconic character like this, you are trying to match the energy of that character, and it's very hard to give that to the player right away because players, they just get to discover this character with you. And having a young Bond is perfect because that means you get to understand what Bond will understand at the same time as him. So basically you will try and rehearse at the same time Bond will actually try and rehearse in the game, which matches the energy that we want to give and the story we're trying to tell.
Okay.
The laser fires a direct beam.
Oh yeah, the laser, nice.
Of course, the laser.
I'm sorry, in the comments. Did I read that
The
right?
laser fires a direct beam.
Oh yeah.
Hitman, but he has hair. If you shave it, it's actually, there's still a barcode. He got it in college.
The laser, nice.
Of course, the laser. Yes, you can't really make Bond gadgets without having the laser.
Nice. Tactically on environmental weak points.
Nice.
Just think about the options. We can disable devices from a distance, put people to sleep from a distance, hack things, smoke bombs, distract. When we get caught in a restricted area, we can use up our instinct to bluff.
Exactly. Think about the options. This is funny because obviously we've been in various stages of development on this project, right? And in some of these stages, also in-house, we've talked about, do you have enough options? What is like? And you had so many options with the games we did prior to this, and it doesn't feel like we have the same. And when you look at them side by side now, Hitman and Bond, you can feel you have a lot more options here. Some of the things that in gameplay make you actually feel like James Bond is some of the things that you know from the movies also. It's unique moments where you see Bond fighting on an airplane wing, for instance. So in those moments, you will feel like Bond. On top of
set pieces. That's at least what I call it. Maybe there's an official name for it that is more accurate. But yeah, set pieces, which are like the moments you would see in the trailer, you know, like those big moments that are crazy. I also eat that stuff up. I love it.
that, there's obviously the gadgets, which is a key component of any Bond movie, and obviously should be in a game too.
I think that was my computer. Sorry.
We always started too big by having so many options that it actually becomes very hard to see all of them. And then we just prototype and test and iterate and test, and we end up with a few that we really like. And the rule from every mission and every encounter rather social or combat, is to make sure the player has at least 3 or more different ways to solve one option and one puzzle or one situation.
But there are some of these iconic things, like the laser. That's iconic, right? So we really wanted that in somehow. So what kind of object does the laser fit on, right? And we also wanted them to distinct from each other. So if we had a thing for the watch, you've seen the watch being the laser in the movies, but we had other things that we also wanted the watch to be. So how can we marry those things, right?
When it comes to Gadget, I think the essential...
I will say it's got to be so freaking difficult to be like, we're going to do this iconic character, but you need it to be original, but then you also need it to be familiar at the same time. Because like, you don't want to just do Daniel Craig all over again. Like, you want to have something fresh and unique, but it has to still be Bond. And if you change it too much, then it just kind of ruins it. So it's got to be a headache. But I mean, that's why they're paying them the big bucks.
The essential part for us was to make sure we provide the players with enough opportunities to use them. If the player wants to test something and use a gadget somewhere, it should behave the way the player think it should behave. And I think it was just us having fun and trying to find the best way to have fun with those gadgets. All that in mind with what Bond is and how he should use gadgets. Because we all know Bond in the movies, he always uses the gadgets at the last second for the wrong usage, but it works. And I think we also want to provide this kind of uncertainty, but you can still do it.
That's interesting to me. He's saying, he references the movies where you use gadgets in the wrong way, but it still works. So like using the laser in most levels, just like break down the chandelier or cut this rope or something, but finding a way to use it in a different situation that players didn't see coming. I mean, that makes me think of like Easter eggs and like secret puzzles for only the most observant players who are like, I wonder if this could work. But if they can pull that off, that'd be really, really cool.
Oh. Right in the foot, and you see the guy actually go down by the foot.
Sarth is awesome. He's a great dude.
Oh. Right in.
Yeah, I don't know if you know Sarth. He's like, he's a OG Giga nerd. I mean, he knows World of Warcraft like the back of his hand. He's done a lot of coverage of like Marvel Rivals. He's been covering like Arc Raiders. He's been doing everything. He's been doing really well.
The foot, and you see the guy actually go down by the foot. Yeah, you do. Yeah, dude. He can climb this, which wasn't that way at all. It actually got knocked down after it got exploded. Look at him yeet the dude and then kick his shotgun up into his hand.
Oh, no, that's fire.
This is like exactly what James Bond would be doing.
Holy God. But that destruction is what we're talking about. Ooh, ooh.
Having been
down.
He's grabbing stuff, ramming them, pushing them
Specto.
over the ledge.
I love the rushing. The melee combat looks great. It looks quite versatile, and I like
strikes.
that.
The hand-to-hand combat.
Young in, more like he's in the video. Young in.
Combat does look kind of neat, not gonna lie.
I'm sorry. I'm very excited.
Nice. Nice. Nice.
The throwing stuff is doing it for me.
The throwing stuff is doing it. Oh yeah, here we go.
God, I love this.
God, I love it. I also love it.
Sometimes, James.
Yeah, and obviously it's about adding all these moves so you can use the environment and you feel you have the range of tools to do what you want, right? And
well, and it's the cinematic quality of like grabbing stuff in the environment, and it makes it feel like it's not just set dressing, it's like actually something that can be engaged with. Naughty Dog's been really good at this for a long time, but it's also like contextual melee as well is awesome. Like, you know, when you go up in, what game was it? There was a game where there was like melee combat, and I think it's all, oh, it's gonna kill me. There was one where like it was all contextual finishes too. So like you run over and, you know, you've got the guy and he's close to this object, and you know, you have a finisher move, so you press the button and he grabs his head and slams it into the side of the table. Sifu does it. Yeah. Yeah, it's super cool, and it makes the set feel like more than just gray boxes that look different, you know?
See here, you ram into things, you throw things from the environment, you throw people around over the environment into the environment, and it's giving you a sense of improvisation, which is really Bond's signature way of doing close combat in this game, at least. Also, what you know from some of the movies.
Well, and it's so much more interesting too than just like parry, break, punch, 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 punch. Like James Bond is about finding any means or any tool in his space to help him win the fight. It's not always just a raise your fisticuffs, good sir. Like, although now that I say that out loud, I do think that would be a very funny version of James Bond to see, like, you know, the handlebar mustached version. Dilly. That would be pretty good. We might need that.
My favorite environment interaction is probably the fire extinguisher. So it was one of these where, okay, I set out a vision at some point where I was saying, okay, we need to use these environment set pieces in close combat, and they need to go off. Even though it's not super realistic, it's just so much fun to have it happen, right? So, and the signature first attempt was the fire extinguisher. So you grab somebody, you throw them into a fire extinguisher, and that fire extinguisher blows up. And it can blow that guy back in your face, or it can blow up other people surrounding him and whatnot. And the instant we tried it, you just laugh out loud. It's like so fun. So now it got all over the place, like with cement bags and scaffolding. Throw people into those, and it blows up. Yeah.
It's also I think that's a vibe of, you know, in as you guys know, I DM D&D stuff for my friends, and there's something with a lot of things, but also in the context of D&D, called the rule of cool. And so there's moments where something will happen, and it's like, is that realistic? No, this would not happen, but it's cool. Let's do it. You know, it's the rule of cool. And with this stuff, like, yeah, it's in any sort of video game, it's that same type of vibe. Or in movies, you know, they grab the guy, they throw him down on the desk, and the desk just breaks apart like it's made of cardboard, because it was for the movie. But a real desk would have been just fine. Maybe it would have like cracked a little bit, but it would have been fine, you know? But it's cooler if the whole desk collapses and breaks apart. And that vibe, I like if it's consistent and it makes sense, of course. Like some stories that would make sense. In KCD 2, if you're going for like really slapsticky, crazy Michael Bay, not James Bay, that's a musician, Michael Bay levels of like fireballs and stuff, that wouldn't make sense. It doesn't fit with the tone. But in this case, I do think it fits with 007.
You can shoot them in the feet now. We implemented something where we actually register that as not a direct kill. So this is a way to go through our spaces in a way that you don't kill anybody, even though we force combat on you in some specific cases.
So you're saying we could do a feet-only run of the game where we only shoot people's feet? We could call it Hideo Kojima mode. I'm going to do a Kojima run of 007. Only feet. Dude, that would actually be cool. If you could actually get through the game that way, that'd be fire.
We make it so you can clear challenges in this way and clear these spaces without technically killing anybody. Recently tested another level where I had a similar sequence. I was shooting.
Pacifist run or podiatrist run? Podiatrists are the feet guys, right? I think. Not sure. Yeah, or the Tarantino run. That would be good. That'd be good too. Double toe 7. Yeah, that works. Pacifoot run. Oh, okay. I think we found it. There you
go. Somebody and I ran.
If I get the chance, they're going to be like, okay, Luke, you get to ask the devs 3 questions. It's going to be total nonsense. It's going to be, can I turn off hints? Did you fix the performance issues? And can I do a feet-only run?
Out of bullets, and the most effective thing was to climb up a few stories onto a platform. I did that, but when I got there, I had another NPC in my face, and I punched him, and I needed to take him out fast, so I grabbed him, threw him over the railing, realized I still didn't have a gun, so I jumped after him, took his gun. There was another guy in my face, and I shot him, but I ran out of bullets, so I threw the gun. That took out the guy, and ran to him, took up his weapon, and fought on. And that, it was just, I had to pause the game and put my controller down. I was like, yes, it's actually happening naturally, the flow of events that we set out to do.
I think level design-wise, when we build combat arenas and encounters, the goal for us is to make sure the player has...
Okay, underrated comment. That's pretty funny. Musique Musiki's just, I'm sorry, I can't read. Does that mean that a punch only run is called a pacifist? That's good. That's good. That's funny. Yeah, I'm just asking for my chat.
Enough options to use all the mechanics we have, so gadgets, guns, and melee. And I think to be able to achieve that, the best way is to provide moment-to-moment and second-to-second options for the player to always be able to move around and always move forward. That's the main thing we try to have, is that the player has to go forward and it has to be able to actually always find options. And that means we're not specifically a cover shooter. We don't want the player to stay and stick to one place. We want him to move around and switch between combat range and also combat melee. And that means also like using all the different things around to provide that. So combat scenarios are pretty different based on the mission and the context, right? So I think we have very guided combat moments where the player is there, everybody knows he's here and he's been seen, and you have to fight your way through, like every classic Bond movie. And in that sense, we usually provide forward momentum with like guiding the player towards a very essential and visual element, so that you always know where you need to go and you're not lost, so that you can also focus on the combat mechanics we have, moving forward, going from melee to range, and also trying to find your way through with gadgets.
In our previous games, combat, both range and close combat, was really a last resort for players. So this time around, we knew we had a protagonist that really, in James Bond, that really wanted a good combat experience. So we knew we had to craft that. We wanted it to be dynamic and reactionary and have that improvisation feel, as we know from James Bond as a character. And then I think the ultimate challenge was really the fact that we have these open gameplay spaces where we wanted the player to have total freedom, and you can choose whatever route you want. Do you want to do stealth? Or do you want to do close combat, or anything in between, right? And for that to actually make sense for the player, we knew we had to craft a combat experience that was on par with the stealth experience. Some of the aspects in range combat in our game that we really wanted to highlight was, or emphasize on, was the feeling of shooting a gun, right? You also need...
Okay, I was like, did they show any range stuff? And I'm thinking like sniping and stuff, but he just means like not fist fighting, which fair, I can see that.
Need all those base level of functionality and feel that you have from other key shooter games, right? So we wanted that sound experience to be deep and impactful, and we spend a lot of time crafting explosions, right? To have that feel, that feels like a beefy, meaty explosion. In 007 First Light feels like a very novel feature that we're doing here. It's something we had to invent for this game, because we have a character now that doesn't really shoot first. You know him as a character that he will use force if he needs to, but he won't shoot somebody who didn't actually shoot first. NPC draws a weapon, fires at you, or wants to really badly fire at you, then we give you license to kill, and now you're also allowed to draw your weapon and fire at him.
I did see somebody complaining about that. They're like, these guys made Hitman, I should be able to kill whoever I want. I was like, bro, you're playing as 007. Like, they shouldn't just give you the ability to kill civilians. Like, what are you talking about? Like, or if they give you the ability, it should be a fail, right? Like, what are we doing? But I was like, that's really what we're complaining about? Anyway, some people will be upset over stupid stuff. And that's the problem, is that like, there's reason to be upset or frustrated. For example, in this very shot, you can see this bus, truck, whatever, van. I got there eventually. This thing, you'll see it's glitching out. See the like weird black texture thing? That is a performance issue. That's a graphical bug or glitch, whatever you want to call it. That's something to point out. I think that's fair to bring up. You know, that makes sense. Or the frame rate, that's fair. Complaining that you're playing as James Bond and you can't kill civilians is a stupid thing to be upset about. Sorry, no, sorry. Cancel me. I don't care. Cancel me. Yeah, desynchronized. Yeah. Well, it's just like there are valid reasons, and then like there are legitimate critiques, and then there's just you being a whiny bitch, you know? Like, it's not exactly like this other game. It's like, yeah, yes, that's kind of the point. Anyway, continuing.
That's the car.
It's got
got too much of a head start.
We had to up our game here, and you can't really have a James Bond game without driving, so we had to do something, right? And I'm very happy that it has gotten together as it has. So now there's actually driving segments in the game, and you can chase them. You can do some of these mood driving segments where it's a little bit more calm. That's usually introductions to levels, and then you have some high octane chases to have fun with. I mean, the ultimate feeling we want to give the player is to feel like having played as the James Bond character. And this just adds so much into that bucket of feeling.
That was the first episode of Beyond the Lights. We really hope you enjoyed. If you have any questions, please leave a comment down below. And don't forget, you can pre-order 007 First Light now and get a free deluxe upgrade. See you guys next time.
Earn the number. There you go, March 27th. Real quick, honest question. Do you guys think they hit the March 27th date? Do you guys think they stick to that? Or do you think they get delayed? What do you think? Honest moment. Do you think it gets pushed later? Delay, no delay. What do you think? No. It's getting delayed. No, maybe, yes, no. I expected delay, no delay, yes, delay. 50-50. So I think March is a good time for them to release. You know, for a lot of companies, it's at the end of their fiscal year. Gaming companies tend to end in like month 3 of the year. So for them, it would launch right then. And then the revenues, most of the revenues would come in probably after into Q1 of the next fiscal year, which has all sorts of tax advantages and stuff, which is why, you know, March is a solid time to release. But it's just going to come down to optimization. And that's the difficulty. Is like when we saw the game in, what was that, September, I think it was, that version of the game was also shown, I think, to people at Gamescom in August. So that version of the game that is in all the trailers and that we just saw clips of here, that version of the game is probably from like June. And so by the time it releases, it will be like a year more polished, not quite a year, like 9 months more polished than what we're seeing in the gameplay footage, because that's the same gameplay footage that we've seen elsewhere. Like the reason why I knew about that van was because that was something I noticed in like the original gameplay bit that they had, where like he slides down, the car drops down, and then this weird black shadow thing gets cast over top of it, and then it clears away as he drives closer. It's really strange. So that's the same footage that we saw in September, same footage that was shown to them at Gamescom. And so like I think all of it is just, you know, it's compounded. So I do think that whatever version of the game there is now is significantly better than this gameplay is. It just depends on how much better, because you know, it can be 60-70% of the way to where it needs to be, but that's still not, you know, where you'd want to be. So I don't know. I get the feeling that they're gonna still put it out at the end of March. I'm getting a firm feeling that there's no delay, and I don't know how it'll run at launch. Probably not as well as people would hope, but I personally don't think there's gonna be a delay, but time will tell. So there you go. That is the first look that gameplay, dev reacts, and insights beyond the light episode 1 for 007. That's pretty baller, pretty cool. So there you go. He took my thing.